Okay, so we're live now. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Weekend Conversations by the Eternal Quest in association with the Ahmedabad Book Club. And it's holy time, so I'm wishing from the entire team, let me just wish you a very, very happy Holi. And you guys have a very safe Holi this time and take care of yourselves and loads of good wishes, happiness, good luck, and for this Holi. Thank you so much for joining and for showing us so much of love and support. And today, with us, we have a very young and budding person. He's Yash Tiwari. Hi, Yash. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining, Yash. We're really glad you could be here. Okay, so talking about Yash, he's a 19-year-old international youth mentor, and he has delivered five TEDx talks and has a Josh talk. He's a public speaker. He's a mental health awareness advocate, an award-winning author of two books, a youth influencer, and with his critically acclaimed debut novel, A Celebration in Tribulation, written at the age of 16. He recently has also authored Pandemic 2020, Rife of the Virus, world's first fiction novel on the ongoing coronavirus outbreak, and for which he has received the India Book of Records as well as the Asia Book of the Records. International Award for being the youngest author to write a fiction novel on COVID 19. And let me tell you, Yash has also written his debut novel, A Celebration in Tribulation, within a record time of just 22 days. Like literally, okay. And he has been awarded as the Young Author of the Year 2020 by TIA, awarded among the top 100 inspiring authors of the India by the Indian Awards. So so glad to have you, Yash. And okay, so he's one of the top 100 influential people of India, and he's an award winner by the HUM Foundation, nominee for the Best Debut Author Award by ICMDR, and also awarded with the Global Young Leader Fellowship and TCC REX Karmavir Chakra Award by Cogno in association with the United Nations. And let me tell you, Yash has also been a part of the United Nations 75 years anniversary World Peace Global Initiative. And that's really amazing, Yash.
Thank you
Welcome.
so
Okay, so starting off with, I'm really excited to know at the age of 16 and at the age of 19, and you're achieving so much, you're being so, you're everywhere. And recently I saw that your Josh talk crossed quite a number of views, and
yes, it
congratulations for that.
I think half a million views have been amassed in a very short span of time. So thank you so much for all the appreciation. I must say, I feel very delighted because of all these warm, appreciative words of yours, and very excited for our interaction ahead as well.
Same here, Yash. Okay, so at the age of 16, at the age of 19, when people and students and teenagers are all into various kinds of stuff, which are probably not so much inspiring. So, what has been your journey to be an international youth mentor?
Well, for me personally, as you mentioned in particular about the ages of 17 or 18 or
Yeah,
19 or 16,
yeah,
or whichever it might be, for me personally, it was never about that. It was never about me doing something at the age of 16 or me doing something at the age of 18. It was always about following my passion. It was always about turning my dreams into reality. It was always about doing what I'm ambitious about, working upon the creative ideas that I have in my mind, irrespective of my age, irrespective of how young I might be. And I mean, of course, I am very grateful for all the appreciation and all the support which I received for doing all these things, whether it was about delivering my TED talk at the age of 17 or it was about my novels, which I started writing when I was just 16 years old. But then for me, it was just about delivering that TED talk, or it was just about writing that book more than anything else. So I think that is what has been the foundation of everything which I do. And even for the coming years, it is going to be the foundation in the same way.
wonderful. So, tell us about your debut novel, A Celebration Revelation.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Celebration Tribulation is a project that is very close to my heart because, for me personally, it is something that started. It is what got me on the journey of who I am right now at the age of 19. And when I talk about the book itself, the book is a story of this young 15-year-old girl named Ilma Zedi, who on her 15th birthday is diagnosed with an incurable neurological ailment called the CJD disease or the Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. And this is, in fact, the first time that anybody has written a fiction novel based on the CJD neurological ailment itself. And that is what the story primarily is all about. But then I wouldn't call my first debut novel as a medical journal of some sorts about this ailment, because it was more or less a tale which I authored to portray the message that death is not the end of your life, and your life goes on even after your death. There is more to a story
Exactly.
of a person, much more than just the life or the death. And for that, I have received a great deal of international acclaims and awards as well, which I feel humbly grateful about. So yeah, very happy about that as well, and very happy to see the outpouring love of all of my readers even today about a book which came out in 2018. And in fact, as a matter of fact, your question reminds me that today only a certain reader emailed me about the fact that when she was reading the fourth chapter of this book, she was actually sobbing. She was crying out her tears. So that is something which, which makes me happy that the book is still having an impact on the reader base. So yeah, very happy about that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Hello, Bijul ma'am. Good evening. We're so glad that you could join. Thank you so much for joining, ma'am. So, your second novel, Pandemic 2020, Life of the Virus, is the world's first fiction novel based on the ongoing COVID outbreak. What are the various themes that have been portrayed in the novel?
That is an excellent question, because my latest novel, Pandemic 2020, it is not just about the COVID-19 outbreak that it is based on. It, as a matter of fact, portrays the story of four different people from four different countries. We have Yash Sharma, who is an ambitious journalist in India. We have Alana, who is a helpless doctor all the way in the US, in America. We have Terrell, who is a stranded traveler all the way in Italy. And then we have Hui King, who is a poor boy, an impoverished boy, all the way in China. And all of these four different stories of four different people from different walks of life, these portray the horrors and all the, I would say, atrocities that the people from the common lifestyles, from the common walks of life, suffered in the face of the COVID-19 outbreak, which was completely unexpected, which nobody of us saw coming even when the lockdowns were announced. So, more or
Yes.
less, the book primarily delivers the message that the common men in particular, they suffer the most, and people from all walks of life, not just one particular person or one particular profession suffered, but every person in every walk of
Every.
life
Yes.
suffered a
Yes.
great deal from the COVID-19 outbreak, from the coronavirus pandemic. And that is what my novel is all about. And in fact, I was writing it when the COVID-19 was still, in its initial phase in our country as well as all around the world, in just the month of April last year. So that is the primary message which I try to deliver through my book. But then again, even if the theme is as gloomy as the COVID-19 outbreak, which scored like millions of lives around the world, the final message I've tried to deliver through my novel is very optimistic. It gives you a ray of hope and a sense of clarity about what is yet to come. So, yeah, that is what my book Pandemic 2020, Right for the Virus, is all about.
Wonderful. And you've completed that in 22 days, if I'm not wrong. So, how was that experience like? How has that been possible?
Yeah, so basically, the first book which I had authored, A Celebration in Tribulation, that I had written in the record time of just 22 days. And then the second one, Pandemic 2020, even this one I authored in much less than 30 days, in the month of April only last year. Yeah. So this question comes up time and again, that how do you do
Yeah,
that? Or, what
exactly. Yes.
would be your guidance to all the writers out there if they also want to write as soon as possible? And my suggestion always remains to be the same, that you shouldn't be. Just because I was able to write my book within 30 days or 20 days or whatever it might be, doesn't mean that another author has to do the same, or even I would do the same in my upcoming projects. It happened that way because it happened that way. Because when I get into the process of writing, it is not like I decided or I pre-decided that I want to finish it off within 1 month. It just happened that way. I got so much invested into the process of writing that I completely forgot about the world around me. I completely forgot about my family or friends or all the work or academics or even my own self. So when I am so much invested into a certain project for the 30 days, of course I will be able to finish it off with much efficiency, right? So for
Yes.
me, it is just like how so many people binge watch series in just a couple of days. I binge write.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
So yeah,
I
I kind of
definitely.
yeah, I binge write things when I get into it. So that is how the process is for me. I do not force it on myself. If something takes longer than 1 month, it will take longer than 1 month. But if I am able to do it in a certain record time, then that is not because I try to do so, but it was simply because I got so much invested into it. So yeah, that would
Okay.
be my 2 cents on this particular point.
Okay. So where can we go and buy your books? Which platforms?
Yes, so both of my books, Pandemic 2020, Rife of the Virus, as well as A Celebration in Tribulation, they are available all around the world, especially Pandemic 2020, which you can read on Amazon, Kindle, Kobo, iBooks, Google Books, because in today's world, I see more people reading the ebooks on their Kindles rather than
Yes.
physically. Although I personally am a huge fan of having a book in my hand, and
Paperback books. Yes,
yeah,
exactly. Book in a hand, it has a completely different feeling, you know?
exactly. I mean, there is no comparison about it. But then again, because we are in
Never.
a digital age, I
Yes.
cannot question that in any way. So, my book is available on all the digital platforms as well as in the physical stores. And more than that, it is available in hardcover version and ebook version and paperback all around the world. So, you can get it wherever you are in the world. And I am very eagerly looking forward to all the feedbacks and reviews from the readers that are attending the session right now.
Okay. So everyone who's watching us and everyone who's joining us later on also, please go and get a look of his book and let us know. Let him also know how did you find the book, because it's about the current, the hottest topic probably, which is going on
Exactly.
currently everywhere.
The
So
point
you'll
is
be able to correlate with it. That's the important part
absolutely,
of the book.
and I mean, I
Yes.
would like to add on that whether you are a doctor or you are not a doctor, I can
Not a
assure you
doctor.
that you to
Yes.
connect with the story because you have seen that in some way or the other. The way in which
Yes.
I had written my story, it is not like just because Alana, a certain character, is a doctor from US, so the doctors over here in India wouldn't be able to relate with her. Or because
Okay.
Yash Sharma is a journalist in India, so the journalist over there in China wouldn't be able to relate with him. That is not like the feel of the story. Because when I was writing it, I wrote it as a amalgamation of stories from all around the world, amalgamation of real life stories from all around the world. So from wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever walk of life you are on, I can assure you with full guarantee that when you delve into the world of my book Pandemic 2020, you will be able to see yourself in it, because as a matter of fact, the story itself is a replication of what all happened in the real world. Like, for example, one of the last chapters is about the depiction of that eve of 5th of April when all of us lit up our houses with diyas and candles for five
Yeah.
minutes. Sorry, for
Yes.
9 minutes. Right. And
Yes.
that happened
Yes.
in the month of April last year. And
Yes.
that is just one of the hundreds of examples of real stuff, of real incidents, of real tales, which you will be able to see in my book. So, even down to the statistics, everything that you read is accurately taken from the real news of the world. So, I'm sure you will be able to connect with the story very well. And it is something which I personally consider as a tribute to all the warriors as well as the sufferers of the COVID-19 outbreak. That is my tribute to them. So, I genuinely hope that the readers over here enjoy reading it.
And that is exactly true when you mention that everyone will be able to relate with the book in matter of sense that even if you're not a warrior or even whatever field you may be in, but as every person today, being from any age group, has experienced the same thing in some way or the other. It doesn't have to be in the same process, but everyone has experienced it. So I'm sure that everyone will be able to correlate with the same. So, talking about you've delivered five TED Talks and a Josh
Yeah.
Talk, what has been your experience regarding the same?
Okay, so well, a lot many experiences, I must say.
Yes.
But as diverse as all the experiences have been, at the end of the day, it is just about inspiring. It is just about changing somebody's life out there through my words and my voice. And that is the ideology with which I get on the stage, whether it is a TED talk or even a very small event. Whenever I'm addressing a group of people, I simply think about changing their lives or impacting their lives in some way or the other through my words or through my voice. So that is what the TED Talks or the Josh Talk has always meant to me about. And yeah, the experience has been phenomenal because, I mean, as a public speaker or even as an individual in general, these platforms are the greatest platforms around the world. More than 2 billion people are a regular audience of the TED Talks or the TEDx Talks, and much greater number is the audience of the Josh Talk as well. In fact, my own Josh Talk recently crossed like 500,000 views. So
Yeah.
that just gives me an idea about the fact that yes, I'm not speaking in vain. It is genuinely changing the lives of billions of people around the world. So that is what I feel truly very grateful about. That is what I feel very much delighted to have a platform for. Change somebody's life out there in some other country through my words over here in India or wherever I might be. And if I speak about the experience itself, then the experience is quite distinct for when I talk about a TED talk or when I talk about a Josh talk, because my Josh talk is my life journey. It is about the struggles and the traumas which I personally have faced and how I transformed myself in the face of all these traumas or struggles. Whereas my TED Talks, on the other hand, they are about some social issues. They are about solving a certain social concern and changing the society for the greater good. So the vibe and the message of all the talks which I deliver, they are quite distinct from one another. But as I said earlier, at the end of the day, it is just about changing somebody's life with my voice and my words. So that is what I would like to say about the same as well.
Okay. And you can always go and check him on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram. So you can find him, and I would suggest personally that go and do have a look and listen to the Joe talk that he's delivered. It's phenomenal. So guys,
Thank you.
mention like no, take a note of this and just go and watch that. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
as a mental health advocate, what's the one essence which is required to stay mentally fit? And in times of these, it's really important to stay mentally fit currently.
Well, that is a great question because, especially during the COVID-19 outbreak, because all of us were, restricted within the four walls of our houses. We were in the
Exactly.
quarantine, we were in the lockdown. So, the mental health was something, the mind of every person was something that was compromised to a great degree. And that is also another reason why we saw such a drastic surge in the number of mental health concerns or the psychological cases, the psychological health related cases around the world. And this is not just about India, I can assure you. I have been delivering sessions and workshops in various other countries as well, like in USA or Australia or Canada or Africa, and even in China, I believe, around the world, especially in the past 1 year during the lockdown. And I can assure you that the mental health concerns are quite similar as we see over here. The number of rising cases of mental health concerns, they are the same in other countries as well, if not greater even. So this is not an Indian issue. This is a global issue, and it is only going to get worse if we do not start discussing about it and if we do not start solving the problems as well. Now, when it comes to what should we do or what should be, the first initial steps to be taken towards securing and preserving our psychological health, our mental health, I would say that first of all, the first and foremost step that you need to take is to believe and not just say or say for the sake of it, but firmly believe that no matter how dark of a tunnel you are caught up in or how dark of a tunnel the world is caught up in, there is a bright end to it. No matter how long this dark tunnel might appear to be,
That's
whether it is
absolutely
about
true.
whether it's about COVID-19 or it is about your own individual problems or issues or whatever it might be, that dark tunnel has an ending. There is for sure a bright end to it. So that is the step one. And then the step two is primarily about focusing more on the internal world rather than the external world. Because when you are only and only consuming and consuming and consuming from the external world, whether it is through, your social media platforms or your peers or your friends or whoever it might be, and you are only focusing on the problems and concerns of the world, and not even thinking about your own self, not even thinking about how you can personally contribute towards solving those problems, I can assure you it can take a toll on your psychological health. And as a matter of fact, so many youngsters in particular, I would like to say, they go through a great deal of psychological traumas in the early years of their life, primarily because they are only focusing on the concerns or all the obstacles that they are surrounded by in the external world, rather than analyzing their own inner strengths or their own inner weaknesses that they need to work upon. So according to me, the second step after surcharging yourself with optimism about a bright end to the dark tunnel is about focusing more on your inner world rather than just worrying about the external world around you. So that would be my 2 cents on how you can take care of your mental health, especially in the trying times like these of COVID-19.
Wow, that was fabulous. And I'm sure a lot many people will agree on this and will, it's a kind of a reminder for everyone that please, just take care of yourselves in the times like these. And it's,
Absolutely.
being with your own self is the most important thing currently. So, you've delivered a talk at the United Nations 75th Anniversary International Youth Day celebration, which was organized in 2020 by the UN volunteers. And there were many speakers from Iraq, Congo, Australia. And how did you feel about it?
I
Representing in.
Yeah, I just felt excited. I mean, I have to be bluntly honest about it, first of all. I genuinely felt, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
All right. So yeah, as I was saying that I genuinely felt very excited about it because first of all, it was for something as big as the United Nations 75th celebration, and then to have speakers from all around the world, and more than that, it were they were speakers who were change makers, who are change makers in their respective walks of life, and from different countries like Nigeria, Congo, Iraq, Ghana, Australia, USA, Canada, and whatnot. And there I was a six. I was 18-year-old, right? So there I was. Yeah, I was counting the years exactly. So I was an 18-year-old boy speaking alongside these renowned change makers from different countries, and I just felt extremely excited about it. But more than that, I also felt grateful to have an opportunity to voice my opinion, because the talk which I delivered, the matter which I spoke about in particular, was about the youngsters. Being a youngster myself, I can see the young ones around me who suffer through a lot of social constructs, who suffer through a lot of social issues just because they are young, just because they are judged based on how young they are. And even right now, at the age of 19, I can assure you that in the early years of my professional career, which started in 2018 when I was just 16 years old, I did face a great deal of age based discrimination. I had to fight against the youthism to a great degree, which is basically the age based prejudice based on how young a person is. So, because I have personally seen that, because I have personally gone through that, and because I have an experience about it, I also have a solution. Because right now, I speak with my experience and I speak with my potential, and I am not being judged just because I'm 19 years old. But I am fortunate in that regards. There are so many youngsters out there who are not, who do not get the, I would say, attention, I don't think is the right word, but they do not get the acknowledgement in particular, just because even in the modernized society of today, there is a social construct about how old a person should be to change this world or to voice their opinion. So for me,
That's true.
that talk which I delivered at the UN 75th anniversary was all about fighting against that social construct, was all about sharing my views with these change makers from all around the world so that they can also share the same views in their respective countries about how pressing of an issue is of ageism or age based discrimination that generally we do not focus much upon because we have much greater concerns that we think about. But when we think about it with more depth, we will be able to see that these are the youngsters who are going to be the change makers of our global future. These are the youngsters who are the pillars of our global future. So they are as much of a concern as any other social concern like the politics or the economics or the environment and whatnot. So that is what my talk at the UN 75th anniversary was all about, and it was exciting. It was a great experience.
Okay, a proud moment for an Indian to present over there and lead all the youth and
Absolutely.
give us such a fabulous. Currently, I'm just imagining like, was this the only thing that you said over there? During your talk, and it was so beautiful. So many congratulations first of all for that, and
Thank you
we're
so
really
much.
happy for you.
Thank you. That really means a lot.
Yes. So, okay, you've been winning a lot of awards, starting from the Young Author of the Year 2020 to the Best Debut Author Award by IICMDR, which is really a remarkable feat in itself, at this age. So, what has been the experience and what has been the journey? And how can you inspire through this to the young generation out there?
Well, first of all, I have to be very honest about this, and I'm being, I'm being bluntly honest about all of these things over here. So I have to say that whichever award I receive, whichever acclaim I receive, it does encourage me. It does inspire me. I know a lot many people say that awards do not matter to them, or achievements do not matter to them. But as a youngster myself, who is growing, who is solidifying his feet in this professional world of literature as well as various other fields, I know the value of these achievements. I know the value of these prestigious acclaims which I am receiving at the young age right now. But more than that, I know that if I have done so much so far, then there is a long road ahead of me. It simply means that I have a very long road ahead of me that I need to be focused on and that I need to be working about. My focus shouldn't be on. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right, all right. So as I
Yeah,
was saying
continue.
that
Yeah.
as I was saying, that my focus is not on what all I have done so far or whichever award I have won so far. It is more on what I have to do next. Which project do I approach next? Which is the next topic or next theme that I want to write a book about? Or which is the next, I would say, level which I want to reach personally in my life as well as professionally in the world out there. So I try to keep my focus more on the future tense rather than the present tense or the past tense. I know people say that you should be more focused on the present tense, and I agree with that. But when it comes to the achievements, when it comes to doing something remarkable, I think one has to be more focused on the future because that is the only way to stay grounded and stay humble. And I am a huge believer of the fact that I personally need to be very much humble and very much generous about all that I personally am doing because my humbleness is my driving force. It is a force of encouragement for me. What I have done so far is something that is only in the past tense. But what I do from this moment onwards or from today onwards is what actually matters to me. So that is how I keep my concentration up on my future projects as well as the timeline of projects which I have to work upon. And that is how I keep myself grounded as well in all of these, I would say, works that I do at this young age. So, yes, that is how it is. And that is how, I see to be in future as well.
Now that you've talked about the future tense, I'm curious to know what are the other projects that we could look upon, and we're waiting for the new TED Talks, probably, or another Josh Talk, or another
I'm
book.
not I'm not going to spoil much over here, I have to say.
Okay,
You
so I'm
have
not
to.
going to give any spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers. Spoilers alert. But you have to be tuned on my social media platforms or my website, that is www.yashtiwari.org, or my social media accounts that are at Yash Tiwari Speaks, to stay updated with all the things which I do. But just to give an idea about the things that are there in the pipeline, well, shortly, of course, a certain book we can see coming out very soon. I don't know how soon, but very soon. It will be about a certain
Very
social
soon is
issue.
enough for us.
Yeah,
That can do with that.
exactly, exactly. And then apart from that, of course, TED Talks are scheduled. A lot many other extremely exciting and extremely remarkable workshops and stuff like that are scheduled in the near future, which once again, for that you have to stay tuned and connected on my website or my social media accounts. But yeah, all I can say is that stay tuned, something is coming out very soon.
Wow. Okay. We're looking forward to, and I personally am looking forward to, another book probably. You can say you started off with a book in while the COVID outbreak was there, and probably, your book can be a good luck, and you can end the COVID by another book probably.
Abs-
Speaking
my
of the
book
COVID.
my upcoming book can be like the anecdote, the antidote for this COVID-19 outbreak that will just
Exactly.
end
Exactly.
the lockdown for once and for all.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna have a quick rapid fire over here, and then we're gonna wrap up. So I'm gonna start off with the book you like the most.
Oh man. Okay. So my favorite book is A Song of Ice and Fire by George R. R. Martin or The Rosabelle Line by Ashwin Sanghi. These two narratives
Oh,
I personally am very much inspired by because they are also based on a multiplicity of stories, and that is what I do in my novels as well. So yeah, these two
okay,
particularly.
okay. Your favorite leader?
My favorite
Leader,
leader.
yeah, or probably your role model.
My role model. Okay. Uh, I mean, in general, I can perhaps say who is my inspiration behind writing. Will that work?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
George R. R. Martin, once again, the multiplicity of stories, the complexity of stories, and the realism in stories. That is what he inspired me
Okay,
about, and that is what I do in my novels as well.
okay. So if you were to write an autobiography, what would be the title?
Miles to go before I sleep.
Wonderful. Okay, and TED Talk or a Joe Talk?
Seriously, you are going to put me on the spot over here.
Obviously, I have to get into a difficult situation sometimes.
I think there is no point of comparison between the two because one is
No,
just
no, this
about
isn't comparison.
yeah.
No,
But if I have to choose, oh man,
pick
this is
one.
difficult. Uh, is there any other option? Can I get
No.
a range of this?
Okay, so
Okay,
if you could
so
choose one,
sorry.
if you could, you can pick out one option.
All right. So I mean, just because it is more about my personal journey, Josh talk maybe,
Okay,
or
see,
because it
there's
might have
always
a
an
bit.
answer. Hidden answer always.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to, or I did not want to publicly at least. That is what I can say.
I get it. I'm trying to say. Okay, so Yash Tiwari as an author. Yeah.
Hello, can you please pardon?
Yash,
I
can you hear
couldn't
me?
catch you. Yes, I can hear you
Yeah.
now.
So it's Yash Tiwari as an author or a speaker.
Once again, you are putting you on the spot. um, Speaker, perhaps, because then I am still able to, voice my opinions in a more impacting way. That is what I feel because there are more listeners out there as compared to how many readers we have. So yeah, being practical
Okay.
about it.
Okay. There's always an answer, Yash. Okay. And last one is poetry or novel.
Novel, for sure, novel. I mean, I love to
For
read
sure.
poetry. I do write. I write every now and then as well, but then that is not something which I am too invested towards. But when it comes to a novel, I am always thinking about new ideas to write stories and to write novels. So definitely, novel,
Okay.
books, whatever you like to take it as.
Wonderful. And one last thing that you want to say to a message to our audience, to our viewers, and probably to the youngsters out there.
Well, yes, one last thing which I would like to say from my personal experience is that your age, first of all, can never be an obstruction in your path to success. You can achieve whatever you want to achieve, whether you are a 6-year-old girl or you are a 60-year-old guy. You just have to make your mind up for it and you have to be dedicated towards it. Secondly, as I said earlier, there is always a bright end to every dark tunnel that you might be caught up in. And thirdly, dream big and work hard no matter what the odds are. And this is something which I had printed in my book as well, in one of them actually. So, yeah, dream big and work hard no matter how many or how big of odds you might be surrounded by. And one another thing which I would like to request all of our viewers is about reading my latest book, Pandemic 2020 Rife of the Virus for Sure, which is available on all the platforms around the world. You can reach out to me to share your feedbacks or simply to connect on www.yashtiwari.org. That is my official website, or on my social media accounts, that is Yash Tiwari Speaks on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Snapchat. I'm not sure
Okay.
about it. I mean, how many,
People
like,
will find you now.
as many social media platforms are there, you can reach out to me on Yash Tiwari Speaks. So I look forward to
Okay.
connecting with all of you, and I hope you all had a good time today.
Okay, so this was Yash Tiwari sharing his three mantras for everyone out there. And do guys, please do go and check out his Josh talk and his TEDx talks and his books, which are available on all the platforms. And as he mentioned, you can connect with him on all the social media platforms as well. And this is Duri Jodai here. We're ending up, and we really want to wish you a very, very, very happy Holi. It's the weekend, so please go out and enjoy with your family and just be safe and take care of yourselves. Thank you so much for joining and for being with us and for giving us so much of love and support. And I would kindly request you to do the same as well. We'll see you next week with another guest at the Weekend Conversations by the Eternal Quest in association with the Ahmedabad Book Club. Till then, take care and goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you, Yash. Bye.
Bye.